Hi there, Sarah Took here, and welcome to another episode of Exercise of the Week. It's such a beautiful day here in Calgary. I thought I would do this video outside instead of inside the studio. So I'm just in my backyard. I'm going to do a little bit of sunbathing after this. So if you haven't noticed by now, with a lot of these exercises of the week, they're compound movements. So they're working a lot of muscles at the same time. I'm a big fan of those type of movements because one, then you don't have to do as many moves in order to hit all your muscle groups. And two, it's a little bit more functional for how our body works in real life. We don't isolate muscles, but our muscles work in movement patterns. So multiple ones working together. So the move I'm going to show you this week is a reverse lunge with a pullover. So why I especially love this move is it's a great way to integrate serratus anterior work into bigger compound movements. So if you don't know what your serratus anterior is, it's a little muscle that hooks from the bottom corner of your shoulder blade onto your rib cage. So if you see a really ripped, lean guy, it's kind of this feathery looking muscle that's right here. So why it's important is it helps hold your shoulder blade flat against your back. And that's important so then as your shoulder blade moves, it's kind of flush against your back like this, and it's not, moving in this kind of direction. So as usual, I'll show you the move and I'll talk you through it as I'm doing it. And then afterwards, I'll come back to touch on a few key points you want to keep in mind as you're doing it. So you're going to set up under a high cable pulley, ideally with two separate handles. If you have just one pulley and you use a bar, it's not horrible, but you're just not going to get that full pull back. Now you're going to alternate reverse lunges, so stepping one leg then the other. We're looking for a nice 90-90 in the legs, and then focusing on moving at the shoulder with the upper body, nice straight arms. So you're going to watch as you're doing it that you're popping the chest up and not rounding forward like so. You want to think about underneath that armpit. The other thing you want to watch is as you lunge back that you're not tipping over. You want to stay nice and tall in the torso. And then lastly, as you're doing the pulling over motion, you want to focus on moving at the shoulder and not bending at the elbows. If you're bending and straightening, it's more of a tricep move. Again, you want to think right underneath that shoulder blade where I'm touching right there. Now, if I want to make the move a little bit tougher, then as I step forward on the lunge, I can bring the knee up. It's going to require a little bit more balance. Make sure, though, you have nice, proper alignment and you're not hunching over or arching your back. Okay, so that was the reverse lunge with a pullover. As you see, I showed you a few options. The easier version is where after you do the lunge, you're stepping your foot back forward and doing the pullover, where the more advanced is where you're leaving the knee up. So you're working a little bit more on balance. Now, key points I talked about in the video, you noticed that I was talking about keeping the chest up as you do the pullover motion, right? And focusing on squeezing in here. If the weight's too heavy and you're having to bend your arms or you're tipping over like this, you want to make it a little bit lighter. Okay. The other thing to keep in mind is if you don't really feel like this is working at all, then maybe you need to isolate it at first to get a little bit more of that muscle-mind connection. So if you really don't feel it in that area at all, then I suggest starting with a one-arm dumbbell pullover. So you lay on a bench with a weight straight above your chest. The free arm, I like to kind of wrap around my body and position it at the bottom of my shoulder blade. And then you're keeping that arm straight as you're letting that weight go overhead. And then as you go to pull it back straight up in the air, I like to kind of tap the bottom of the shoulder blade there just to kind of excite that muscle and get that muscle working. Once you feel like you're getting this muscle working, then you can try and incorporate it into a move like the one I'm showing you here. Okay, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you on the next episode of Exercise of the Week.